Hi, Blake Matthews here with Florida Orienteering with a short video for JROTC instructors and team captains on how to enter data about their cadets in the registration document that we send around. As you all know, we circulate in advance of every event a Google Sheets document that allows us to collect information about who's going to participate in the event and all the details about them. Recently I've added some new error correction and validation to it that I want to make you all aware of because I want us to start using it right away. So this is the document, and you'll notice that across the bottom here there's multiple tabs. You're probably most familiar with the registration tab, which is the first place you'll go when you decide to go to an event, and you'll fill in the details of what school, who you are, your contact info, and how many people you'll be bringing, and what courses they'll be running, right? We typically do this a couple of weeks or more in advance of every event. Um, just this kind of basic information because it gives us an idea of roughly how big an event to plan for and how many maps we're going to need to print for it. But in the week or so leading up to the event, we need to get more detailed than that. We want to get detailed information about exactly who's going to run, what courses they're going to run, what stick numbers they're going to use, and so forth. The reason being, we don't want to enter that stuff the morning of. Any data entry we can avoid the morning of the event when time is at a super big premium where hundreds of people are literally waiting around for us to get started is a good thing. So we want to do all of this in advance. And for that, we're going to switch to this Master Roster tab down here. This is where we have 5 basic columns for you to fill out. For each person who's going to run, we need a name, first, last, comma, first, the school code for the school, the gender of that person, male or female, the level of course they're going to run, yellow, orange, or green, and the sport ident stick number that they're going to use. And as you notice, you probably noticed that there's some validation already in there in these 3 columns right here in the form of these little drop downs, right? These little carets indicate that there's a drop down in those cells, and you can really only enter information in the cells according to those drop downs. There's only so many legal values, so you can't misspell your school abbreviation. You can only choose male or female, and the gender you can only pick yellow, orange, or green for the level because that's what's in the drop down. Now, of course, there's a way to circumvent that. If you paste information in here, it circumvents the drop downs and will put potentially erroneous information in there. So that's part of the reason why I've entered some more error correction to catch that sort of thing, which is what I'll go into in a moment. The very first thing, though, that I want to mention deals with that paste that I just mentioned, because there's rule number 1 in this document is do not use regular paste in this document. We put a little banner right out here that says when pasting into this document, don't use regular paste. Instead, use paste special values only. That's because all of the validation, all of the error correction that I'm about to show you, it's all based on data validation and conditional formatting in this sheet. And if you paste, regular paste into this document, it wipes out every bit of error correction in every cell you touch. So you definitely don't want to use that. Instead, you're going to use that paste special values only. So you copy the information from your Excel document or wherever you have it. You come in here, you find where you're going to put it, you right click, and do not use regular paste. Instead, just do paste special values only, just as is shown right here in the picture on the little banner that sticks out here. That will allow you to paste all the data in, but it will leave all of the validation, formatting, and error correction intact. So let's get into the error correction, the new stuff. I'll do the simple ones first. The school and school abbreviation here, if you were to paste in a value other than the official 4-character abbreviation for your school, it's going to flag that. And by flag, I mean it's going to turn the background this kind of red color like this, like you see here. So you can only paste in the values that are appropriate, only the legal official school abbreviations. Same goes for the gender here. It'll, of course, only allow the male and female, but there's even more than that, which I'll get to in a second on the gender. The course level, same thing. If you paste in any value other than yellow, orange, or green, it's going to flag it. It's going to highlight that in red. I should mention here, kind of as a side note, that as many of you know, occasionally we will split courses by gender. We'll have a separate male and female course, and sometimes we even use a different color designation for that. In particular, on the advanced course, we'll often split that into a green for male and a brown for female. You do not need to know that. Do not need to try and put that in, because that varies from one event to another, and I don't want you having to like guess, is this event going to be a green brown or is it just going to be a green? You don't need to know that. All you need to put in here is yellow, orange, or green, beginner, intermediate, or advanced. That's it. I'll take care of the course assignment based on that information when I create the event file. So for you, just yellow, orange, green, period, the end. The last one is the sport ident stick number. That's the 6 or 7 digit number that's on the SI stick that they're going to use to record their run. One of the more common errors here, of course, people can skip a digit and have this be, a 5 digit or a 6 digit when it's supposed to be 6 or 7. But that's pretty easy to see when you're in here. I've formatted this in a fixed width font, partly for the reason that it's really, really obvious if something's shorter or longer than it should be. So if you put in one too few digits or one too many, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. You'll notice it. Like if you double tap a key or something like that, you'll see it. You won't leave that mistake in there. But a mistake that's much harder to see is when somebody pastes in the same stick number on two different people, the same valid stick number on two different people. That can be real difficult to detect until the time that I put it into the event file. And we'd much rather catch it as early in the process as we can. So I put that error correction in here. So now, for example, I've got this stick number here that ends in 344. This one ends in 354. If I mess this one up by making it 344 as well, check it out. It turns that both of those stick numbers red. They're to indicate, hey, there's a problem here. You use this stick number twice. It should only be used once. And that feedback is immediate. So as soon as you see that red highlighting, you know what to do. You come in here and change one of those stick numbers to something that's unique. So we'll catch that kind of thing right away. Now, backing up to the more difficult stuff, which has to do with the name. The format of the name is very specific in this document. It is supposed to be last name, comma, space, first name every time. And we typically use regular proper casing as opposed to all uppercase or all lowercase. That's partly just for aesthetics. It looks better that way, but we also want to be very, very consistent about it. And the reason is that downstream of all of this, ultimately this information is going to get propagated to the event file and to all the results files and the medal and trophy files and the outstanding runners display that we watch to bring people and make sure we got everybody back at the end of the event. And then finally, after the event is over, it goes into the statewide JROTC rankings. In order to make sure that someone gets their ranking adjusted correctly based on all the events they go to throughout the year, that name's got to be consistent from one event to another. So we want to be very specific and consistent about how we put a name in. As I said, there's the standard format, last, comma, space, first, in proper case. Please do that with every name that you enter. In the case of names that are a little bit more dicey, like a hyphenated last name or somebody with multiple surnames, that's very common in Latinx names. Again, you want to pick one and stick to it, right? Pick a particular expression of the name and try and use it consistently throughout the entire year so that their ranking information gets updated correctly without somebody having to chase it down and go find out why it's not working right. So be very careful about all that. We also want to try and catch as many typos in here as we possibly can. And so I've built in a couple of tables of about 80,000 legal, or not legal, but common last names, surnames, and about 8,000 common given names, first names. The given name table has an associated gender built into it. So for example, John, that's a common male first name. In my table, it has male associated as a gender, and the system actually checks that. So if it detects that John is a first name, You come in here and tell me, oh, that's a female. Guess what? It's going to flag that because that conflicts with the assigned gender in my table. Again, just a method of kind of showing you right away, gives you that immediate feedback that, hey, maybe this was a typo. Um, Typo genders are kind of hard to detect, and they have also kind of big negative consequences because, as you know, gender determines what class someone goes into, which determines who they're competing against in the event for medals and trophies. If that gets assigned wrong, somebody can come in and think they're getting a medal or a trophy, and then they find out that they're not because they were assigned to the wrong class. And when they get reassigned, their results change. Nobody likes that. It also impacts the calculations that I do in real time at the event to predict when medals and trophies are going to lock down, which impacts how quickly we can do the awards ceremony and get everybody on their way back home. So, again, all of these things we want to catch as soon as we possibly can before they bite us in the middle of the event. That's the reason why this new error correction is in here. The last name is a little bit more problematic. There's a lot of variation in last name. As I said, I've got about 80,000 last names downloaded from the census that are in the table. That will not get us 100% of the way there. There will be some false positives on some oddly spelled names that won't be in the table, which is fine. Um, as we go, we'll try and add more names to the table and take some of the false positives out. But really, all you're trying to do here is get a skeptical eye on anything that's been highlighted in red. If it highlights any of these items, that's your cue to double check it. Most of the time, it may even be correct, right? Many of these names, Faria, may not be in my last name table. Um, the last name Chu may not be in the table yet, but all it's saying is spot check this. Make sure that it's right, because in many cases it'll be just a dumb typo, right? Somebody will transpose two letters or double a letter or just fat finger something. I can't be 100% sure about this, but kind of guessing this guy's first name probably isn't the name of a computer operating system. It's probably really this, probably really Linus. And as soon as I change that, there goes the highlighting. It goes away. Now it thinks it's probably right. I'm not actually going to second guess somebody. I'll let them look at that because they know the people and I don't. Um, but again, the directive here is basically twofold. Directive number one, do not paste in this document. Use paste special values only. Directive number two now is anything that it highlights in red like this, double check it. Make sure that it's right. And this will get us as close as we can to 100% accuracy up front before the event even begins. And that saves all of us time the day of the event, which is great for everybody. So if you have any questions about this, you can contact me at blake@floridaorienteering.org. That's BLAIK, Blake, at floridaorienteering.org. Or you can, of course, talk to me at any event. I'm happy to discuss any of this with you at any time. So thanks very much. As always, thanks for coming to our events. We really appreciate you, and see you in the woods.